both. I appreciate both your time today.
Thank you. Thank you for making time for us.
The first thing that really struck me about this movie is the chemistry between the two of you. They meet and it feels like love at first sight. So I want to know, how were you able to actually build that friendship so you did get that chemistry on screen?
Yes.
Um,
Go
yeah, go
ahead.
ahead. uh, yeah, I think we both probably have a similar thing, which is we were, existing friends and had been, very different in terms of what actually happened to Will and Apurna, where Sherry and I think we were just kind of friends on the acting scene. And um, specifically, once COVID started, we would do calls like this a lot. And she was just happened to be one of those friends that I kind of kept in touch with regularly. And I think we always just had really good conversations about how we were feeling about the whole thing and about our families. And see, I think as when I was writing it, I think a lot of that was sort of the chemistry was sort of built into this script because I knew kind of what our dynamic was as friends to begin with.
Perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it helped that, we actually are really good friends. And so that was, written into the script, as he said. It wasn't like he was casting strangers. So I think that kind of helped it
Mm.
as well.
Perfect. And during COVID, the days just kind of blended in. I don't know if y'all recall. I just felt like every day felt the same. So how are you actually able to create that sense of time in the film?
I think having it all in one apartment really helps with that. It's sort of I think that was a big part of why time sort of dilated during COVID was because you saw the same four walls every day and the same, one to three people every day.
Yeah.
And I think it's also an interesting thing that happens in LA already, which is because the weather's the same every day, it's already hard to kind of distinguish time from itself. So that combined with
Yeah.
never leaving the place, combined with never seeing any new faces.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think it's sort of aided that.
And I also think that it's kind of written in their relationship as well, that, in the beginning, there are certain things or topics or things that they're trying to figure out about each other and their views on life. And then as time progresses, they're able to open up more and more and, eventually go on a mushroom trip together and,
Yeah. A
so I think
whole
it's dialogue as well.
very good. A character that really struck me is Aparna's ex, because he's actually not a bad guy. And I I think what she liked about him is that like what he represented, which was like stability and predictability. And during COVID, all our plans went out the window. So I wanted to know, like, how does this uncertainty about life during COVID actually play out in their relationship?
With Aparna and Nikki's.
Aparna and Will's relationship.
Can you ask that question one more
Oh,
time?
sorry.
Sorry.
How does the uncertainty about life during COVID play out in Will and Aparna's relationship?
I think that part of it also is that it's not even just COVID related, though I do think it is a large part of it. But I think even the
Mm.
industry that Aparna is in, right? She
Yeah.
is an actor. And I think part of in her reflection in one of those scenes, she talks about, you had all these dreams and things. And regardless of COVID, sometimes, acting as a career or the arts as a profession can be so unpredictable to begin with
Yeah.
that regardless of whether COVID happens or not, there isn't really a stability there.
Mm.
And so in some senses, it kind of felt like her character was choosing between either it's me that is unstable and this other person has unpredictability to it, or at least I'm unstable, but this other person has a little bit of predictability in their life. So
Mm.
clinging on to that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also when I was writing it, part of it was like it was not just that COVID happened, but it was sort of when in their lives COVID happened, where I think, I was
Right.
certainly going through that as someone pursuing the arts, kind of approaching my late 20s, and you start to sort of reflect and like I made all these choices based around this certainty I had that like I was gonna be this actor or director or artist, or I was gonna have this success.
Mm.
And then COVID happens and it really kind of makes you take stock of your life and of everything that you thought about life. And then you start to go like, well, did I make the right choices? Am I going to have these things I wanted? Or should I, maybe should I have valued some of the things I took for granted you know, in a pre-COVID kind of younger part of my life. But I do think specifically for Will and Apurna, when it comes to like the timing of COVID, I think it was something I tried to put in there, which was this idea that had it not been for COVID, these might be two people that never would have discovered this chemistry they had for each other.
Yeah.
That it took such a specific circumstance. Because you see in that first scene, there's really not much there. You know, they find each other pleasant, but there's really not a lot of like they would never take the time to actually dig any deeper. Because on the surface, it feels like in their everyday pre-COVID lives, they just wouldn't have ever sort of taken that time to really, yeah, dig below the surface of the other person. So in that way, I do think COVID's very like essential to the timing of their relationship together.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said. COVID kind of forcibly slowed life down, and we had to literally stop and smell the roses, whether or not we wanted to, or, it was
Yeah.
kind of a gun to the head. And I wanted to know, like, the one thing that COVID highlighted is something that's been going on for quite some time, but it's been talked about more, which is this kind of loneliness epidemic. And people deal with loneliness in totally different ways. Aparna decided she needed to see her family, and Will just toughed it out, this thing where I'm just gonna try and bear it until I can't bear it anymore. So how did the two of you deal with loneliness in this industry?
I mean, I think personally, through you're asking as me,
Yeah, as
Sharayu,
actor,
not
yes, yes,
Apurna,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
just to you, yeah.
I think I've gotten very lucky that I found a great community in LA. Granted, I've also been here now for like 6, 7 years, so it took a long time of cultivating as well. But I think the part of it is like, since I was a young child, like growing up in immigrant circles, I think community has always been a huge part of how my parents raised me because we didn't have any family here. And so I think I learned from a young age that like your community helps you in time of need and you also return that favor. And I think even as I took that kind of kernel with me as I grew older and moved from city to city. And I think in LA, especially, this is the longest that I've lived in a city as an adult. And I've gotten really fortunate that I've really gotten the chance to meet amazing people and build community here, and that they've stuck around in LA for so long as well, because I know this is a city that has a lot of fluctuating population as well.
Yeah, I think I would agree with a lot of that. And then I think for me, something I've been thinking about is just the importance of having sort of a community like outside of entertainment or outside of like an immediate circle of people that, because I think that's part of what creates like a false, specifically for, aspiring artists. I think there's a false sense of loneliness when you're constantly comparing yourself to others. You always see yourself as on this ladder and you're looking up and down on the ladder. Whereas I think if you have, friends and family that are sort of not in that rat race or not trying to climb that ladder, you kind of, yeah, you just have more of a, you feel more supported and you realize like, oh, there's a lot more to life than just, you know, the perception I have of my own artistic endeavors. Something that's helped. And that was something I think, especially like my brother moved in with me in the middle of COVID and kind of having that family in LA for the first time and learning to kind of really appreciate and kind of nurture friendships that I valued. So yeah, I think just building a community that's supports your art but is independent of it, I think is important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like building your own community. I think what I appreciated too is we see Aparna's family and we don't see Will's family at all. But there's two sides of the coin. Some people, it was a nightmare living with family, but living alone wasn't exactly a walk in the park either.
Yeah, we did actually
Um,
shoot a scene with Will's family that ended up getting cut.
oh,
Uh,
why?
I think just for pay, it was during his like New Year's Eve where he's alone, so he never went to his family, but there
Hmm.
was a long Zoom call that he had with mostly with his mom, but his brother and his dad were kind of on the Zoom call, kind of in the background. And it just for pacing, and I think sort of to what you're speaking to too. I think I liked the idea of getting to see more of a Perna's backstory, but I think with Will kind of making this choice to tough it out on his own. Yeah, I didn't feel like it was adding enough to take up the screen time it required.
Okay, fair enough. And what do you hope that people will take away from this film when it comes out this week?
Um, I hope people, I think to me, the message of the movie and sort of the thing both characters learn in their own ways is just that the people you connect with matter and you should hold on to them. And that doesn't mean that the dynamic or the nature of the relationship needs to always be the same, or it needs to be what you necessarily always wanted it to be. But if you feel a connection with someone and you feel love for with someone, hold on to that. Whether that's, friendship, whether that's family, whether that is romantic. I think whatever that looks like, real connection with another person is so rare, that it matters, and you should value it.
Yeah, like just the idea of valuing all the relationships in your life. And I do think that it's natural for friendships and relationships to ebb and flow. It's that you're never going to always be, best friends with the same person. I mean, some
Yeah.
people get that, but it's not as common. But if even in that season of life, a friendship is strong or a relationship means something to you, like you should take the time to communicate that, because it's important for that person to know and for you to also acknowledge that as part of your journey as well and what that contributed to your journey.
Yeah, sometimes we think we have all the time in the world, but we actually don't. And so where can people find you or like support you if they want to learn more about you or, look into other projects that you may have in development?
Well, this one is going to be on Amazon Prime this Friday, June 7th, and a couple of other streaming platforms as well internationally for anybody that's watching not in the US. Otherwise, you can find me on Instagram at sharayu.mahale.
Mm.
Yeah, check us out. Check out this movie on June 7th on Amazon, and Tubi is going to be the other big streamer we've got going. You can follow the film itself at Footnotes Movie on Instagram, and you can find me at that Chris Leary on Instagram.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you.
And
This was
Thank you so much.